Welcome to a brand new Into the Ashlands podcast. I'm your host, Eric Malachite, and today I'm going to be interviewing a very special guest. His name is D. William Landsborough, and he is the author of the upcoming dark fantasy novel, Archangel. He also has his own copy editing business and runs his own website. All right, hey Douglas, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
All right, my name's Douglas, author name D. William Landsborough. My debut novel is coming out on February 12th, titled Archangel. Right now, I am running my own freelance writing and editing business, Big Red Pen Editing. I'm in school for professional writing, went back and tried that again. And, other than that, love playing D&D, love watching horror movies, love coffee. I should have had a coffee first. And I think that covers it. I think that covers all of it.
Yeah, I am sipping that coffee right now. When I got to page 230, I was just like, my eyes were doing double vision as I was punching in copy edits.
When you said you got that far, I was shocked. I can't do it all that quickly. I need a break.
It's tough.
Which is, yeah, no doubt. When I'm, doing editing for people, it's like it's easier doing the editing for people than it is incorporating my own edits. It's less mentally taxing.
Oh, absolutely. At first I thought that Phoenix wanted me to just use that file, but that seems weird to me for some reason. Do you know what I mean? Because there's all the comments and stuff in the Word file. But anyways, tell me a little bit about Archangel.
All right. Archangel is the first in a planned series of 6 novels entitled Shadows Advent. And it follows the Archangel Uriel, who descends to Earth 10 years after the war between heaven and hell started on Earth. He's been kept out of the fight for reasons that are unknown to both us and to him. But in those 10 years, heaven lost the war and hell won and has since taken control of Earth. And there are these black clouds that surround the planet, and he's the only one capable in heaven still of penetrating those clouds and reaching Earth. But when he gets there, he finds a landscape that looks nothing like the Earth that you and I know. It's barren, it's dusty, there's no sun, it's just kind of a red glow that penetrates the black clouds. There are freaky animals that replace the animals we know, and worst of all, there are demons, everywhere. Cities are run by demons roam the landscape, and there's a whole hierarchy and government and power struggle going on with demons.
Oh, that sounds pretty interesting. So where's humanity in all this? Are they just stamped out?
He thinks that they're all stamped out when he gets down there, or down here, I guess. But he finds out pretty soon that there are pockets of humanity either existing in little towns at the mercy of these demon nobility or demonic nobility, or there are people that have embraced the sort of evil side of human nature, and they thrive in the cities that these demons have established. And they run gangs, or they deal with human trafficking, or they just serve the demons in other ways.
I don't know why it could be the coffee and the scotch talking, but I just imagine that scene in Chrono Trigger when you go forward in time and do that the races with those punks or something. Yep. I don't know why.
I took some inspiration for the attitudes of the more nefarious human beings from things like Chrono Trigger, or some caricatures from Mad Max kind of universes, but toned it down a little. It's not the extreme Valhalla attitude of the Mad Max characters, but they get pretty intense in this new Earth.
Nice. I was also gonna ask, is there a little bit of Fallout in there, a little bit of Fallout influence, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. When I imagined the world in my mind, and this was however many years ago now, it's been a while to get to where we are. I was definitely playing Fallout New Vegas at least around the time when I thought of this, and the landscape looks very that Nevada desert post-apocalyptic feel, but combine that kind of with Mars, I guess.
Nice. Yeah, I'm very familiar with Mars, as you may know.
Just a little.
Just a little, Okay, so that sounds awesome. So what would you say is the main mythological influence behind, is it mainly Christian mythology, or are you looking into other things, other kinds of demonology, like, say, Jinn or things like that, to inform the heaven and hell side of your universe, if that
when
makes
it
sense?
started, it was definitely very Christianity, very heaven and hell based, because that's kind of the upbringing I had. It's not necessarily the lifestyle that I've subscribed to, and I kind of hinted that throughout the book. But when you're talking about a backstory and when you're talking about lore, there are a few things, in my opinion, that are as well developed, if you look into it, as demonology and theology, especially from a Christianity or a Judeo-Christian standpoint. That's the word I'm looking for. And so the more I got into researching that, like the different demons, the different names, the different angels, the different, ways that humans have interacted with angels, the more interested I became, and the more I said, this would make a really kick-ass fantasy story. And so then it kind of branched out from there. But then I try to incorporate other things into it too, and I have ideas for down the road. So the first angel that we actually encounter, other than Uriel, our main character, is one that's based entirely on the image of a Valkyrie from Norse mythology. And so I thought that was kind of neat to tie in. Spoiler, she ultimately dies, like, almost right away. But she puts up a real good fight. I absolutely loved writing the scene with her, and part of me wishes I didn't kill her, because the idea of a Valkyrie is one of the coolest in all the mythology that I've read about, in my opinion. So I'm kind of sad that she's gone, but painted a really cool scene, and I really liked incorporating that. And down the road, I want to incorporate things like Jinn, golems, that kind of thing.
Sounds like you're doing quite a bit of research on that end. I find that stuff really interesting, just our ideas, and like, because I've had a lot of experience with the paranormal myself, so just seeing how we interpret these things that we don't understand, and write them down as if we know what they are is really fascinating. Yeah. I mean, it's almost more fascinating than the fiction we create based off of those observations. Yeah. But
I totally agree with that.
But the book sounds like it's going to be great. I am most likely going to pick it up day one, except I'll probably get the physical copy, because personally, and I have readers like this, they're like, I'd rather wait for a physical copy. It's just easier on my eyes, too. So are you going to have the physical and the Kindle available day one, or is physical coming later?
Physical's available day one. If it was possible, I would have it up for pre-order too, but the way that KDP works, or Kindle Direct Publishing works, you can't put the physical up for pre-order, which I kind of understand from like a more print-on-demand aspect that Kindle takes, or that Amazon takes. They don't want to print those beforehand and then have one returned. I had a pre-order today, not that I'm obsessively tracking it, but I had a pre-order today that went through for the ebook and then was returned. So, that's day 2, 3 that we're out for pre-orders now. So I could only imagine if the paperback was available for pre-order, you'd get a lot. Buy it, return it, and they don't want to deal with that. Yeah. Not to get it to you same
but
day.
You would think that with the print-on-demand service, that with pre-orders, they wouldn't start printing until the actual release date, so you'd have some leeway until, release day. I mean, I don't know. There's got to be a way to handle it, and I've had some serious criticisms of KDP myself. The switch from CreateSpace to KDP just was very rough, and it takes forever to get your author copies, too.
So. And it's getting printed in the States. So me being in Canada, they don't actually sell the paperback in the Canadian Amazon store. Amazon.ca is not available. So I have to order my proof from the American one. So already paying, the exchange, paying delivery, waiting, Lord knows how long until I get my proof copy. And then when I want my author copies, it's going to be at least a month. I'm, predicting maybe 2 months before they get to me, and then I'll just resell those to whoever ordered some of those through me.
Oh yeah,
but it's crazy.
I can imagine. Yeah, you're about to find that out, buddy. all that good shit. I will say this: when you're formatting your cover, it helped me to move the image for Eldritch Blasphemies over like just a little bit because it was too far to the left towards the spine. And
Right.
it just the title, or really my author name on that version of the cover. I'm probably going to do a new one sometime later on, but it was too far over to the left. It was just off center. It didn't look right. So I
I'm
mean,
worried about that because I think I saw in the thumbnail of the paperback that it's the title is just a little bit to the left, just like a fraction, but just enough to be noticed. And so I'm gonna wait till I get the proof copy, and then I got somebody to design the cover for me, and he said, if you need anything changed, just give me a shout. And so I'll probably have to give him a shout.
yeah, and it's going to be 5% darker than you would want it to be.
Yeah, yeah, prepared for that, which is okay. I absolutely obsessed with the job that my designer did for me for the cover.
Oh yeah, it looks fantastic.
Unreal. Absolutely. Growing up wanting to be a writer when I grow up, I always dreamt of having covers like the fantasy books that I read. And it's like, as you grow up, you kind of realize being a writer is a lot harder than you thought when you were a child, like most things, I'm sure. But then
Oh yeah.
finally seeing like this childhood dream come true and like being in front, it's amazing. Oh, I'm looking at it right now and I'm blown away again.
Yeah, I was feeling the same thing when I held my anthology. It's a much smaller work than even Echoes or the books that I'm working on now. But like as I'm coming to the end of this punching in these copy edits for Echoes, I'm just going, it's almost here. I'm almost there.
It's awesome. Oh, such a good feeling.
Why don't we talk about Big Red Pen editing?
For sure, for sure. Do you want me to just kind of go on a ramble about it, or do you
Yeah,
have
just go on a ramble about
anything
it.
specific? All
I've
right.
noticed that you do like these cool little mini blogs about
Quick fixes.
quick fixes about dealing with the common errors that you find in manuscripts. So why don't we talk about those? Because I haven't had the chance to look at those because I don't know if you know this, but I'm busy as fuck.
What, really?
No, not me.
No, that is a-okay. So Big Red Pen, just a little bit of background on that. Before I went back to school and started Big Red Pen, I was working for Canada's biggest bank, RBC. I don't know if I can name drop that in like public podcast, but I worked for Canada's biggest bank for 2.5, almost 3 years. And combining that with what I wanted to do, which was writing on the side when I had the time and trying to edit on the side when I had the time, it wasn't working out. So I kind of took the chance when I went back to school to start up Big Red Pen and focus entirely on editing and doing the occasional blog writing for companies and stuff like that, but focusing my editing on independent authors, especially. And so that's where that came about. But I always tell people, whether I was working for the bank or not, the best thing you can do for a small business or a freelance business is to have a blog. And to have a blog, you have to have some kind of niche. You have to have some kind of specialty, or you're just another post out there in the sea of however many thousand posts go up every 5 minutes or something. And so I thought, what's something I can do that addresses common problems that people have, but do it in bite-sized chunks, essentially, because we don't have attention spans to read 1,500 word blogs right now. You either read a book over the course of a week, 2 weeks, a month, however quickly you read, or you read a blog over the course of 2 minutes. And so I tried to target that specifically and try to genuinely improve people's writing, but do it in the tiniest chunks that I could. And the response that I've gotten from people has been great so far. It's been very encouraging because they've loved how concise it is, and how to the point is the same as concise. So that's not concise itself, but they love the format of it. And a shameless plug right now, just yesterday, I actually started including videos with my quick fixes, and they'll be included with the longer blogs, but I mostly do the quick fixes. And so those just started going up yesterday, and we had one yesterday, one today, and I have a whole backlog of them to work on now, and hopefully getting one out with each new one, because not everyone wants to read a blog either. Some people are a lot more visual learners. And so I'm trying to incorporate that into Big Red Pen as well.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
that's really smart. I was toying with putting blog entries up on my website, and I was always sitting there like, I don't want to fucking write all this shit. No one's gonna want to listen to me go or read me going on a tirade about some bullshit.
About flat earthers, maybe.
Oh god, yeah. I do rant about them a lot.
And I struggle with it too because I want to write blogs for my author site, and I did it a lot when I first started my whole indie author, brand profile journey. And I would do it 3 times a week, and I burned out, of course, because that's a lot to do on top of everything else. So I dropped it down to 2 times a week, and I dropped it down to 1 time a week, and then for the last year and 3 months, there have been maybe 3 posts that go up. And it's tough because when I look back, the blogging that I was doing was just whatever I wanted to talk about. Like I would talk about writing, but I would talk about horror movies, and I would talk about, financial situations, and whatever came to mind, I feel like I would just smack the keyboard on. And it's not effective. It's nice for me. It was fun, but it's not effective for having a blog.
And your time would be better focused writing, right?
Exactly. And my writing was suffering because of it. The reason Archangel has taken so long is because it started back when I was in school the first time around. So that just got in the way. And, I could have an excuse for procrastinating. But then when I left school and started the journey improper, then I could say, oh, I'm blogging instead of writing, or I'm blogging instead of editing, or I'm blogging instead of incorporating beta feedback.
Yeah,
so
man,
it just became more of an excuse.
Working on this probably as long as I've known you.
Yeah. It's mostly been, it's going to sound kind of ridiculous to say, but it's mostly been done since I started the Twitter profile 2.5, 3 years ago. So it's been identifying not the roadblocks, because it's me. It's been identifying those excuses and the reasons why I haven't been able to do it, and kind of conquering those, that has gotten me to this successful part. And now I'm looking at writing the sequel to it, or I'm in the process of writing the sequel to it. And if this was a video thing, I'd turn the webcam and show you the whiteboard I have to my right. And I have a checklist now of things I want to do every day. And one of those things is write 625 words for the sequel.
You want to take a picture of that, send it to me, and I'll include it in the video?
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, usually I have some I don't know.
Something
something going on in the background. I don't know what I'm gonna do for these interviews though. Yet I haven't thought that through. But I think from now on the podcasts are gonna be these interviews, because otherwise it's just me talking to myself.
When I first started blogging, one of the things I actually did well in the onset of blogging for my author website was interviewing other indie authors, though in a blog format, not in a podcast format. And that's actually how I connected with a lot of the people that have helped me along the way with this. So the interviews helped me, they helped them by getting them more exposure, and helped whoever read it. So I love interviewing other authors. I love when other authors are interviewed. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it helps to sort of shed light on the process, and I don't know, it's just cool. I think. I mean, it's just cool to be sitting here having a chat with you, because I never knew what you sounded like. I'm like, I wonder what he sounds like. Does he say a boat a lot? Is it a boot or a boat?
A boot. Oot and a boot.
Oot and a boat.
I didn't think that Canadians sounded any different than, I can't say than just Americans, because there's different accents depending on where you are in the States, at least to my ears especially. But then I was playing a video game with some friends I have in the States, and I said about, and they go, a boot? A boot? Did you just say a boot? So apparently it's noticeable. I can't hear it though.
No, it sounds like you just said about. Right. The funny thing is, I saw Super Troopers 2 at the Alamo Draft House, and they get to the joke where they're saying, where all the Canadian Mounties are saying, "I'm sorry," just enunciating, "I'm sorry." It's the best joke in the film, actually. Accents are pretty funny. Apparently, I took an accent test because I moved out to the East Coast some time ago, and I have an indistinguishable American accent. Like, you can't tell where I'm from in the continental United States, which is pretty hilarious because I also do some like different voices and stuff, so I could pretty much mimic any accent from the United States accurately, and people would think I was from West Virginia or, anywhere else. Probably anywhere else besides New York. I can't get that one down because I haven't actually been there and listened to them. But if I listened to it, I could probably copy it.
I am terrible at accents, and sometimes I'll be writing something and I want to throw an accent onto somebody's voice, and then I try and say it out loud to get a feel for what it would actually sound like. Can't do it. I just sound like an idiot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a talent.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm doing my day job, I'll be sitting on the phone. We'll just break into accents, and people give me weird looks like what the hell is wrong with that guy? Oh, I'm just carrying it on, doing whatever I'm doing.
Something I just thought of too, just jumping back to how long it took me to get Archangel ready to publish. One of the projects that I have on my good old whiteboard next to me is I want to put out like a 20 to 30,000 word little ebook detailing that journey from idea to publication, and outlining the resources and ideas that were used along the way, so that when you have another Doug or another Douglas like wanting to start this journey, you can actually look at it and say, instead of taking 3-4 years to do it, you can crank it out in 1 year. So expect that handy little resource this year as well.
Yeah. But it's not just for other Dougs, right?
Not just for other Dougs. No, just Dougs in concept.
It's interesting because I've listened to a lot of Chris Fox's podcasts lately. And he talks a lot about writing to market and, the however many week novel or something, which sounds insane to me. Even though, I do write really quickly. I do push out a lot of stuff, but it just seems insane to write an entire 80,000 word novel to 100,000 words within what is it, a few weeks or something is what he's doing now, and then pushing it to market. But it works for him, and he's making good money doing it. So, and he's also like what you're trying to do. He's putting out nonfiction books to help indie authors like you and me to get those sales, to be able to quit our day jobs and everything like that, which is pretty cool of him. Not everything that he talks about will work for everyone, because there's a lot of luck involved with this as well. But I think that could be successful for you.
Yeah. I mean, more for that one is more of a, I don't want to say altruistic thing, because it's going to be for like $1 or something, or it'll be on Kindle Unlimited or whatever. But like it's to help people so that they don't get into the same situation, because it's depressing too, or defeating to take this long. And I know of a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot, but I know of a few higher profile indie authors that say, in 2018, I wrote 4 books and got them all out to market, and unfathomable to me. Like I could never do that. Even if they were like 50,000 word books. Archangel comes in at 111,000 words, I think. And like that, I think that's a good length for the kind of book that I want to write. And even getting something similar done in a year is a little bit daunting, to be honest. I have the goal in mind, I have the timeline, but getting all that done in a year can be intimidating. Getting 4 books of 50,000 words or 60, 70, 80,000 words done in a year, I don't get it. I don't know how they do it.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing. They talk about, a lot of these guys, they talk about writing like 5,000 words an hour or something. And I'm like, yeah, but how many are you keeping? I mean, I'm just a bit of a skeptic here. I haven't read any of their books or anything. I thought about picking up some of Chris Fox's, but he does a lot of military science fiction, and I don't read a whole lot of that stuff. So I don't like the closest thing that I have on my bookshelf to military SF is like The Forever War by Joe Haidman, and that's old. It's a good fucking book, but it's old.
Yeah, I haven't read anything by them either, and they're doing well, like you said. They're making a living doing it, and they're happy doing it, I'm sure. So there's got to be some kind of secret sauce. But writing is also very personal, especially for indie authors. It's like you are taking so much of your free time and putting it towards this thing that, as you said again, has a component of luck to it as to whether or not you'll be successful or whether or not you'll gain traction. And so they're doing something right, but that intimate journey for some people shouldn't be condensed to 300,000 words a year.
Good God!
That's
Like the original version of Echoes of Olympus Mons was I wrote the 20,000 word version encompassing everything that happens in that story, just really condensed in a week, and then I expanded it and expanded it and expanded it and expanded it and expanded it with more and more feedback. Like, okay, well, it's a novella. No, it's a short novel. No, it's a novel.
It's a novel now. There's also something to be said about the writing process where you write that 110,000 word draft and then you put it out for feedback or you go over it yourself and it becomes 90,000 words, and then you write the second draft and it becomes 115,000 words, and there's that process that just is time consuming as well. And so a full length novel to write it properly and to write the kind of quality that I expect from myself, it's still a lengthy process.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, just to get that novel to the point where it has reached its fullest potential. I mean, sometimes it's not always about, getting it out to the market as quick as possible to make that quick buck. Not to say that, obviously you got to eat, and if writing is your main source of income, then that's really important to you. But at the same time, maybe adopting a pace which is like Stephen King, he writes like 6 pages a day, and that's it. He does 6 pages a day, and that's how he gets so many fucking books out. And I like that because I do just about that when I'm not editing or doing other stuff or going slowly insane, But yeah, I think indie authors don't always have sane expectations for their work output.
No, they don't. And it's easy. Well, look at something like NaNoWriMo or NaNoWriMo. I don't know how to pronounce it, but National Novel Writing Month.
Yeah, I just say
the month of November. Sorry, say that again.
I just say NaNoWriMo, but maybe that's wrong.
Yeah. But like writing 50,000 words in the span of a month, it's doable. I almost did it 1 year, but it's doable at the sacrifice of everything else, at least for me. If you want to write 50,000 words outside of your working hours and outside of other maybe writing commitments you have or life commitments that you have, it's tough. And what you get after, it's not a finished novel. It might be the first draft that's finished, but you're taking that novel from the end of November into like March before it's like an acceptable quality level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always say whenever someone's like, "Hey, are you participating in NaNoWriMo?" I'm like, "No, every month is NaNoWriMo for me."
That would be nice. I'd enjoy that. If you gave me, the 40 hours a week or 50, 60 hours a week because I like writing, if I could do that every week, then sure, I'd get you 50,000 words in a month. But when you're writing in the evenings, when you're writing, early morning, there's the 5 a.m. Writers Club that I don't subscribe to on Twitter because I'm still asleep when 5 a.m. rolls around. But you're spending every waking hour.
Yeah, like what I would do for a while when I was pumping out those short stories for the Patreon before I started serializing Echoes, and like, oh, freedom. I was writing in the mornings and a little bit when I came home from my day gig, and writing in the morning really, really helps because I get some of my best stuff done in that first stint while I'm having my coffee and my brain's waking up and everything. Because at the end of the day, I'm just going, and the dog jumps. Give me a fucking whiskey.
It's true. No, I totally agree. And one of my New Year's resolutions, because early January still, so they're still around, is to get up earlier and to actually get going. I found that when I left the bank and started Big Red Pen and started school again, my classes are 1 o'clock to 8 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. So, and when you work for yourself and you can kind of do work when you want to do work, it was really easy those first couple of months to be like, okay, I can just laze around until like 10 o'clock, or I can go, watch to catch up on my Netflix until 9:30, 10:30. It's tough when you're trying to motivate yourself, and for writers out there who are trying to motivate themselves to actually do it, when there are so many other options, it's tough to get going.
Yeah, but you got to do it. You just
got to do it.
You got to plant your butt in that chair and write.
And it's funny because if you're an indie author, you love to write, right? Like that's why you aren't writing a book because you feel like you're obliged to write a book or because someone told you have to write a book. You're writing it because you love to write books. And so it's funny that sometimes it can take so much motivation to do what you love. But then when you start doing it, oh, it's a good feeling.
Yeah, when I was younger, I wanted to be a comic book artist and comic book writer. I didn't see myself writing novels, but man, I tell you, when I started actually writing and working on my prose and the quality of the prose, that as I got better and better and better, I enjoy it more than my art. Because I still do art and everything, but it's like yeah, but I'd rather be writing.
And with writing, there's also what I found is there's such a great community around writing. There's some, toxic individuals like every community out there. But for a group of people that are stereotypically introverted, there's a great community on Twitter, on YouTube, all those different social medias. I'm not as active on Facebook, so I'm not really sure if there's one there, but I'm sure there is. And like, there's just a great community that keeps you going and supports you better than any community I've seen for pretty much anything, like real world or virtual world included.
Are you following or being followed by William F. Aker?
I think so. I think that might have just been a recent connection, though.
Yeah, he's got there's an indie author coalition group that he founded on Facebook. That's might be a good start for you, dipping your feet into networking.
I think I just joined that one, or I had it pulled up and meant to click the join button, but got distracted by something, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But I've literally written it down. Yeah, him and I just connected, and already have some great stuff coming from him. So definitely gonna join up on that.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of one of his books right now.
What kind of stuff does he write?
He writes science fiction.
Okay.
The cover to this one, he recently changed it to the unfortunate expiration of Mr. David S. Sparks. It had me thinking it was going to be like a Hitchhiker's Guide type of thing, especially when the title sounds like a satire, right? And the cover sounds like a satire, but it's not. It's actually like a serious world-building post-apocalyptic drama. So that threw me off a little bit, but I am getting through it, and I'll let him know what I think when I'm done. But nice. He's a really nice guy, though. Definitely should get into that group.
Yeah, I will do that once we are done here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What else do you want to talk about? Because I don't.
What else do I want to talk about? Something that came to mind while we were chatting about the journey of writing a book is that when I first finished Archangel, the story that I had was more like two stories in one. And to me, I thought that was, the perfect story. I thought that the way that I structured it was the best thing since, Tolkien. And then bread. Some beta readers came along. Pardon?
Or sliced bread.
Or sliced bread. And then some beta readers came along and they're like, Doug, you took one story, you took something that should have been a separate book and condensed it to like 3 chapters. What are you doing? And, for a day I thought, oh, these guys don't know what they're talking about. But then I went and read it and I'm like, they're 100% right. And so I want to, just say to anyone that's writing a book, even though you love it and you think it's the greatest thing since Tolkien's sliced bread, it's it's gonna go through some changes, and just be open to that criticism. I think that's probably one of the biggest skills that I've gained over this journey, is just being open to criticism and not feeling like it's a personal attack when I get it. And I think that's going to translate to when Archangel goes like public. It sounds like it's being traded, but when it goes public, there will be reviews that aren't, perfect. There'll be people that, might like it a little, or there will be people that won't like it at all, I'm sure. That's the thing with art. But it's just, I have to take that and say, okay, can't please everyone. Take what they say into account and then tackle the sequel with that in mind.
Absolutely. Oh, I imagine hobbits make really good bread. Just saying.
It's probably delicious. Like, it's kind of still steaming.
No wonder they're so fat. But no, yeah, you are absolutely right. Our first inclination is to say, "Oh God, what are you talking about? It's perfect." And then, a day later you go, "No, they're probably fucking right. I need to change that." And it's hard to get over yourself when it comes to that, But it's so important to be able to take critical feedback like that and actually consider it from all angles. Yeah, they might not understand necessarily where you're coming from, but that might also be a failing on your part to communicate those ideas. So it might be a good idea to take a second look at that manuscript.
And I've said to people, that I've been chatting with lately about Archangel, I've said to them that it wouldn't be what it is today, or I wouldn't be as happy with it as I am today, if it weren't for the beta feedback that I got from people. And sometimes it was something as small as, we didn't get this explained 2 sentences earlier, or you didn't say, or, change this little thing. And sometimes it was, like I said, take these 3 chapters, make a second book out of it. So, invaluable. And that just jumps back to the community aspect of it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know somebody right now who's got this story going for a while, and they're saying that, I've self-edited it 4 times. I've been over it 1,000,000 times. It's like, doesn't matter. You need that feedback. They will not listen though, but okay.
No, they won't. And people will always not listen. Which is, poor grammatical structure for saying they'll never listen. But another plug for Big Red Pen here is, I always tell people, don't self-edit your book. Sure, you can do it for like a short story, because that can get expensive. You might not want to pay, $30-$40 to have a 3 or 4 page story read, depending on who's editing it. But when it comes to something like a novel that you spent a year or 2 or 3 years writing, don't think that your eyes that have been looking at it for the last 1,000 days are the ones that can pick up on errors that you made yourself. And I like to think I'm a really good editor, and I charge people to edit their books. But when it came to Archangel, I didn't think I could edit that for crap. I sent that off as soon as I could.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I'm working on the second draft of my second novel right now, and I've completely redone it, but I'm not worried about grammar or anything like that. Like, I'm kind of worried about it, but I'm not focused on that. I'm focused on story and themes and stuff, because I completely changed the third act, because I was just like, I wrote it at a time where I was less comfortable dealing with the Eldritch themes and things like that, and I just decided to push it into full batshit crazy towards the end. I think you'll like this one.
All right, I'm excited. Now, I want to come back to this, but speaking of Eldritch themes, what's the deal with the Lovecraft role-playing?
Oh yeah, the lovely lady that I'm dating right now, she got me the 7th edition of Call of Cthulhu, the Keeper's Handbook, and I've been slowly going through that, looking over the system. I've also gotten the Keeper screen, which is the GM or DM screen for that system, and the Investigator's Handbook, so I'll be reading those as well. And I'm writing an adventure that I hope to have like a podcast, like a role-playing podcast, kind of like some of these guys have been doing, that are really blowing up with listenership and people who are really into it, and specifically a Call of Cthulhu podcast itself, which is really interesting. But I hope to get that started sometime later in the year. I want to run a physical campaign with my friends to actually get used to the rules and everything, because it's very different from D&D. It's actually a D100 system, and it's percentile based on your skills. You roll the D100, the D10 and the D100 percentile die, with hoping to get a number that is equal to or under the number of that skill. And everything functions like that, combat and things like that. It's completely roleplay based. And like I'm loving what I'm hearing about it, right? What I'm reading about it, I should say, because like I ran, and it's on a hiatus right now because I've been just so busy with writing and with my day job and everything else. I ran like a Dark Souls, Bloodborne style D&D 5th edition campaign that was a lot of fun, and I dealt with a death and resurrection system a la Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and an insanity system, or a sanity system rather, and that was a lot of fun. But it's more about that one was veering more into like, I don't know, Evil Dead territory with the comedy and everything, because at some point we had an undead horse that was allying itself with the main party. It was great, and I got way too drunk, and I made up a bunch of voices that I'm not comfortable revealing here. Like, I had a voice for the horse, and I was just like, that was just ridiculous, but they loved it. I want to get back to that too at some point, because I love 5th edition D&D. I see you have all the books back there too.
Oh, you can see that?
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah. I'm missing, there was a supplement that just came out, I think. I'm not sure which one, but I'm missing that. But otherwise, yeah, I have them all. I have a couple other books back there, but one of them, actually, the percentile system that you're talking about, is used in Warhammer Dark Heresy.
Oh, nice.
And so I tried that because I DM for whatever groups I play with, because it seems like whatever group I find only wants to play, which is no problem. You know, as a writer, you like the storytelling, so DMing comes natural. And so I ran a couple of campaigns for this one group a couple of years ago, and they loved it. It was their first time playing D&D, so I made it a lot of fun for them. They were really focused on the combat aspect of it, which is okay. Each group has their own kind of play style, so we played to that. And then we switched over to Dark Heresy, to Warhammer 40,000, and it used the percentile system, and it threw them for such a loop. I loved it, and the lore in it is fantastic. I absolutely love the universe, but it was tough for them to adapt to the percentile system. So it'll be interesting to see how the Call of Cthulhu plays out, because I think it's a great system as for role playing specifically.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think it'll be neat.
And the way they have their the way you build your investigators in Call of Cthulhu, it's all about character, it's all about your history and things like that, and it's all. I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine who's not really. He doesn't like horror. He doesn't like he doesn't like Lovecraft, and he's just like, I don't really find the idea of insanity very intriguing. It's just like, oh, well, that's cool, but there are some people that would love to roleplay their characters going insane or dying. I'm one of those people. I would love that as a player. I love that as a GM, making people see things that aren't really there.
It'll be intriguing too if you can work in a way. It might just be like passing a note or something, but to get people to see things or to hear things without the other players knowing about it, and just see how they can take that role playing and run with it.
That's so
fun. Or in
fun.
Between sessions, let them know.
I did that a little bit in the D&D campaign. There was a lot of different visions that people had, or they would see things differently than other people did based off of their perception or sanity or sanity level. Because D&D 5th edition actually does have a sanity system that's suggested in the DM manual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they have I think the campaign behind me is Into the Abyss, or Out of the Abyss, the opposite of what I said, Out of the Abyss. And it has you going into the Underdark to figure out why all these demon lords are showing up, I believe is the story to it. And it has an insanity aspect to it too, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I imagine. I haven't picked up any of the adventures. I've got Xanathar's Guide to Everything I'm looking at, Volo's Guide to
Quality.
Monsters, the DM Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual, and of course the Player's Handbook. I've only got those 5.
I mean, that's really all you need if you're making your own stories or your own adventures.
Yeah,
And
I'm curious what the
making my
other
own.
supplements are, though.
I'm sorry.
I'm curious what the newest supplement is, though. It's been a
Yeah,
while
I
since
am
I checked
too. Do you have you don't have Mordekainen's Tome of Foes? I think it's. Or am
No,
I reading that
is
right?
is that another monster manual similar to
It,
Volo's?
it adds a lot of things. Well, give me 1 sec. I'm gonna get up and look at it.
All right.
I don't think it's on my shelf right now. Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's not on your shelf right now?
No, I don't think so. It might be downstairs where I was running a session a little bit ago. But yeah, Mordekainen's Tome of Foes. And if I'm correct in identifying my supplements, I think it adds more subclasses to the heroes. Or was that Xanathar's? I can't remember now.
I know that Xanathar's does. Definitely.
Xanathar? Okay, then it might be that one I'm thinking
Volo's
of.
adds monsters as races.
Right,
Pretty
yep.
sure.
I have Volos back there. Oh no, this one just adds foes and things from different multiverses. Okay, well, I was mistaken, but still a great supplement. I love all the supplements that they put out, and even the campaigns, though, I do enjoy making my own. Turn Archangel into a 5th edition campaign, maybe. You heard it here first. But they're high quality stuff that Wizards of the Coast puts out.
Absolutely.
And
yeah, I love
little
the graphic design on these too. The black and red, just
yes.
like that's just so metal. So much better than 4th edition.
It definitely appeals. They know who they're targeting. They obviously know who their audience is, but at the same time, like D&D, I'm comfortable saying D&D is more popular now than it ever has been.
Oh, it absolutely is.
So their audience has grown to people I'm sure they never thought would play D&D, which is awesome. Absolutely,
it's not just the pot smoking hippies anymore.
Exactly.
I mean, they're still there. Let's be honest.
Yep.
But they probably have a job now. Well, D&D is fantastic. I love role playing, and you are more than welcome to join in on that eventual Call of Cthulhu campaign, because that should be loads of fun, loads of insanity-driven laughter.
100%.
Anyways, this has been a lot of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I hope you have also enjoyed it too.
Definitely, this has been awesome. This is the first time I've done, a vocal interview or an audio interview for anyone. So this has been fantastic. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I hope to do more of these and to get more people on and just interact with more authors, and that'll be my way of giving back to the community, since I have a lot of trouble trying to connect with people on Twitter. Just like, okay, I start to write a tweet, and then it's like, crap, I don't have time. I got to do this other thing. But it's been great having you on. I hope that Archangel does really well for you. You definitely deserve it. You sound like you've been busting your ass at least, or maybe even more than I have.
We'll call it a tie.
Well, it's not a competition.
Nope. Not at all. Thank you. Writing is something that I obviously love to do. And so I'm happy and excited to release Archangel, but I think I'm even more excited to just get to what's coming next. I spent so much time on this. It's exciting to get to book 2 and book 3 coming up in the next year or so. So fingers crossed everything goes well.
Oh yeah, I hope it does, and I think you'll do well. You seem to have a good handle on this marketing stuff, and it's not always the easiest thing to wrap your head around either.
Yep. Definitely.
All right, well, that has been this edition of Into the Astral Lands podcast. I'm your host, Eric Malachite. You can check out D. William Landsborough. I'll have to cut that out. Because, like, I always...
I think that's a good one to leave in.
Damn it. You can check out D. William Landsborough's dark fantasy novel, Archangel, coming out when?
February 12th.
February 12th. That's, like, right around the corner.
That is almost a month, just over a month away.
Awesome. Because I know I'll be picking up a copy. So, yeah. And check out Big Red Pen Editing. Is it .com?
Yep.
Okay, check that out, especially if you are aspiring authors, indie authors, or if you're trying to get published traditionally. It couldn't hurt to check some of those mini blogs out, because they'll help.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. And thank you for all the editing that you did on all of those short stories that past year.
You're very welcome with that. I love it. I love reading your stories. They fill that kind of niche that I can't find in a lot of places. Every time I mention to someone that, I like dark matter or quantum physics or black holes or whatever, they kind of just roll their eyes and start talking about something else. So,
yeah.
So your stories are fantastic.
Well, they sound lame.
Yeah, I cut them out of my life.
Because quantum physics, dark matter, and black holes are fucking awesome.
They are.
And that, folks, has been the longest outro ever. Even longer than some of my first videos were. I will see you guys next time on the next Into the Astral Lands podcast. A quick heads up before you guys click off this video. My debut novel, Echoes of Olympus, Mons, is currently available for pre-order on Amazon for the Kindle edition, and the print version will be available day one on April 11th. Head over to ericmalachite.com to check that out, check out the blurb, and pre-order. You can also get the first 3 chapters free in PDF form by going to the website. That's ericmalachite.com.